again. For those of you who are live, perhaps joining on demand, thanks so much for pressing play, clicking join today for 60-minute slow flow yoga. I'm Jen. I do have my yoga blocks as always. Even I think a single yoga block or a single light dumbbell could be of use for a couple of spaces where we want to ensure we've got alignment in the body, space for hips and back. And then I prepped a blanket that's kind of rolled up to be able to fit under the small of my back toward the end of practice. So if you have a bath towel, that could work, even a small pillow. As always, not a requirement, but we will potentially take kind of some shapes out of a supported bridge. So that can just sort of be off to one side of your mat. Morning, Gary. I'm going to go ahead and press play on some music and we'll take the time to connect in. Beginning our practice as we do, lying on your back when you feel ready. Good morning, Jane, Courtney, Heather. So good to see you all. Taking that time to connect in, literally to the ground. So feeling as you are ready, no rush, as you come to lie on your back, that physical connection that you have with your mat, with the ground. Good morning, Michelle. Good to see you. Good morning, Cindy. Maybe you're noticing kind of the backs of your hips, the bottoms of your feet, if your knees are bent. Maybe you're feeling the backs of your shoulders, even just a little weight in the back of your head. And as always, when we come to arrive here on our back, giving yourself the space and permission to do whatever it is that feels right and makes sense for you. I often find just a few movements that kind of helps me almost squish in to my mat and some of those contact points. Maybe you take a moment to close your eyes and just noticing that little awareness of bringing your eyes to close or your gaze to soften, that it isn't about kind of creating a sense of sleep or rest, but really, I like to call it tuning out to tune in. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I land a little bit more focused on feeling into my body. Take your time here to feel some breath, again, to settle in, and just want to offer you a little quote that I've been really contemplating lately as we've been talking recently about moving in ways to really elevate trust in our own bodies. And the quote says, "The opposite of anxiety isn't calm. It's trust. It's not stillness. It's not silence. It's not pretending the storm isn't real. It's trust." Let yourself kind of take those words and maybe pull them away from your brain and maybe see if you can get them to land more in your bones. Really let any part of that saying land in your body. And we'll find a little movement here to start to prep and build that trust and space by moving really thoughtfully and slowly here. I'm going to bring my feet to plant, knees bent a little wider than the hips. I'm going to let my arms rest, and I'm going to begin windshield wiper sways, again, really slowly. So part of this idea of moving slow is just that. We move slow enough so our body can trust that we are not forcing or being abrasive. You might start to feel a little rotation in the hips. You might start to feel a little gentle twist in your spine. I'm going to reposition myself here briefly. Good morning, Aubrey, Robin, Shaheen. So good to see you all. And then if it would feel okay, I'm going to let both of my knees surrender to the right and I'm going to pause. And my legs are not touching the ground. So I'm just kind of feeling that ease, maybe a little support of the arms. If it would feel okay to stretch your left arm up by your ear, and maybe you actually drop your right ear toward the floor and look over to the right side of your space. Let this be more about creating some sensation and openness rather than creating a pose. And then when you feel ready, returning your arm, bring everything back to center. I encourage you to pause for a moment, looking straight up at the sky or the ceiling, maybe just a little wiggle of your hip bones. And then if you did invite that offer in, let's take the knees over to the left. And you can explore this differently. Maybe you notice the legs kind of feel a different range of motion. Perhaps your right arm stretches up by your ear. Maybe your left ear drops to the floor and you look to the left. Again, don't worry about creating a pose here or a shape, creating more of that sense of noticing and sensation. And then we'll bring everything back to center. And I'm actually going to start to continue to sway the legs, but lift them off the ground. I sometimes like to do this a little bit without using my arms just to kind of feel that weight and integrity of movement without kind of squeezing. But then maybe your hands grab shins or backs of thighs. And the offer is to create what will hopefully be in and out movements of your hips. So what it probably looks like is a little bit of a butterfly shape, knees open, and then kind of turning the knees seemingly inward, but that's because the hips are turning in. So I almost wonder if it would feel like a figure eight. So just that kind of visual where knees again are seemingly going out and in, but can you create that movement at the hip? Take a few more rounds of movement. Lydia, Alicia, good to see you all. And then when you're ready from here, let's pause in what feels like that butterfly shape. I'm holding the outsides of my thighs. I'm going to flex my feet, and then I'm going to extend one leg out. So it's sort of like a half V and a half butterfly. I'm going to bring that knee back to bend and then extend the other leg. So I am flexing my foot. So it's a really active extension through the knee. Maybe a little more stretch in inner and outer thigh. Just go whatever pace you like here. Keeping the backs of your hips really rooted down. All right, we've been open hips for quite a while. So can you guide the knees right over your chest? And then we'll take the legs up toward the ceiling or sky. Oh, does that feel like a breath sometimes? Let your heels energize toward the ceiling. Maybe you roll around through the ankles. Let your arms feel really restful here. And I invite you to create like a walking sensation on the ceiling or sky. So one knee bends as the other leg maybe kind of drops toward the floor. And maybe you make this just a little bigger such that you have to kind of fight to prevent your back from arching off the mat. You could bring your fingertips to the base of your ribs just so you don't hold yourself with your arms. You might feel that little catch right before you need to arch your back. Did you get a little sassy breath? A little fight for breath? And then when you're ready, let's pause, give the knees a little hug. We're going to do one more just prepping through core and support teamwork here. Can we keep the legs up, but I have knees above my hips, knees bent about 90 degrees. We're going to do a variation of dead bug, but a little extra sass with a push. Can you take your right hand, push it against your left thigh, and then left arm toward the ceiling or sky? We'll extend right leg out and left arm away and back in at your pace while you simultaneously push into that left leg with your right hand. So my hope is whatever level of ferocity you want to push into the thigh, that's adding just a layer of complexity here in a really lovely way for our stabilizers. Find your breath. When you are feeling satisfied, I'm going to hug the knees in and just kind of rock that out. You might want to set the feet back on the floor. You might want to take an arm reach overhead. Just give yourself a little rinse out. And then when you're ready, we'll of course set that up for the second side. So I don't know, what should we call these? A little spicier dead bug. Knees up above the hips. Left hand is going to press into right thigh. Right arm toward the ceiling or sky, and the extension is left leg and right arm simultaneously, and bringing in with, again, as much push as you want into that right thigh. It does not matter how far the limbs go. I hope you really just do this by feel. You're not trying to get a certain distance. You're not trying to achieve anything here other than your work to breathe and stabilize through your entire mid-body. And then again, whenever you feel satisfied, we'll take one more final hug, rinse, rock, anything you could use here while we're still on our back to then create momentum that will bring you to be seated. You could roll over to one side and push up with your arms. You might change this to rocking and rolling along your spine, taking a little bit of a kick of the legs when you feel ready to lift. We meet upright. So good to see you all. Wendy, Monique, welcome. You can face the front of your mat whatever direction you want. I'm going to come to face you. Invitation is to find cross-legged in whatever position you would like. So it doesn't matter which leg is crossing over which. You can always use a block or support to under the knees. And if cross-legged feels intense, I've tried to warm your body for it, but it is a lot to ask of the hips. Position the legs any way you like. Sitting up nice and tall, and we'll start with side bends. We do this often just to start to move laterally in the body as well. This is one of those moments where I hope you feel that sweet spot between kind of rootedness in your sitting bones, but a softness in your upper body. And then I'm going to vary this a little bit. Could we meet with the left hand down, right arm up? could you actually rotate to kind of reach your right hand toward the left side of your mat? It might feel a little rounding in your upper back. Let's unwind and switch. Right arm down, left arm up. Take a gentle rotation of left arm toward the right side of your mat. Could you actually then land your left hand on your right knee, sit up tall, and cross your right arm over the top onto your left knee? And then this is just for you to explore. So right away, this might feel like a lot to cross the arms. I sometimes let my chin drop and then let my chin lift. I invite you to really press your shoulders away from the ears. And you could even take a brief moment, almost like you're gripping your knees and rounding your upper back, like you're leaning against that grip, just to see if there's more space to be found. Take another breath or two into whatever you're noticing. And then let's take a big sweep of the arms to unwind. Land the hands behind your hips, lean back to uncross the legs, and let's take a V position. Toes toward the ceiling. I am definitely wiggling into my sitting bones. My knees are slightly bent. And then from here, we'll find some torso rotation. So I'm going to kind of turn to face my left foot and just kind of sweep my body around toward my right foot, sit back up, and then I'm going to hinge toward my right foot and sweep around. My hope is that you almost feel like you're leading with your chest or your heart, so we're not rounding the back here. Take a few more rounds, just kind of noticing sensation, maybe hamstrings, maybe lower back. And then when you're ready, we'll come upright, we'll bend the knees, and can you go cross-legged the other way? You might take a moment to realize which way you did. Give a little wiggle to your sitting bones. And then again, we'll just take a couple of those side bends. We're going to recreate just what we did on that other side, but we'll eventually be crossing the arms differently. So can we meet with right arm down, left arm up? Rotate a bit like you're stretching left fingertips out over your right knee. Just kind of feel whatever stretch there is opening in your left side body. Unwind, sweep up, switch, left hand down, right arm up. Breathe, rotate, stretching right fingertips out to the left side. Then can you land right hand on left knee, sit up, cross left arm over so it's on right knee. Reminder, I hope I'm looking like I'm reflecting the direction you're going. And then similarly, just kind of noticing how this feels in your body. I'm trying to press my shoulders away from the ears. Maybe you even turn your head side to side. Maybe again, you take that slight grip and kind of lean back against it to see if there's space you can find between your shoulder blades, your collarbones. When you're ready, let's unwind. I'm going to again lean back. I'm going to take the legs again to a wider V just to kind of get blood flow back in the knees. And then I invite you to take, I'm going to call it a forward hinge. I'm going to move my sitting bones. I'm going to bring my fingertips in front, and I'm just going to kind of hinge forward without letting the legs rotate. So that will often happen. Really try to keep your toes up. And again, can you keep your heart leading forward? So quite often our default is to go like this and round. We are rounded a lot. So I'm going to encourage you to be really tall here where you might even feel there's strength building in your back body. Take a few more breaths. And then let's unwind, help the knees bend. And as we did on the ground, is there anything else you could use while we're sitting? A sway of the knees, a wiggle or roll of the wrists, anything that just helps you go from this moment toward tabletop pose. That's where we'll meet whenever you're ready. Morning, Gloria. I never said good morning. Block or dumbbells maybe within your reach toward the top of your mat, spreading your fingertips really wide in your tabletop, hopefully in the middle. Did I say that? In the middle of your mat. And then finding movement here. We've already done quite a bit to start to explore, so let this feel like a home base. Cows and cats, we do these every practice. They serve such a great purpose to continue to move through the spine, and they can give you another chance to check in. Maybe you close your eyes, moving in whatever direction is feeling most interesting to you. Just that reminder, again, we're not trying to create poses. We're just moving and checking in, elevating that sense of trust in our own body. When you feel ready, we're going to add just a little bit more movement to the spine here from a slightly different position. So a quick pause and tabletop. Hands go forward about 2 hand prints or so. I'm going to opt to curl toes under. We're going to do puppy pose spine waves. I'm going to round like cat, tuck my chin, let my hips go back toward my feet, and then soften belly toward the ground as you pull forward. Your forearms might briefly pass through the mat, and I'm going back and forth, cat-like to go back, and a little cow like to go forward. Be careful as you come forward. There is a softening of your belly, but see if you can keep your back feeling long, that we're not collapsing into the belly. I like to think about stretching my heart forward. And then can we meet, hold forward in a knee plank? So I'm going to uncurl my toes. I actually have to bring my hands back a little closer so they're directly under my shoulders, knee plank. Maybe a tiny cow and cat here so you feel really straight and strong, chin up, looking out in front of your mat. Can you squeeze the elbows in and lower just part way down? Hold. If you're okay going to the belly, go all the way down. If not on the belly today, press back up and head back to tabletop. If you're on the belly, exploring any variations of cobra that you would like. You might press through the hands. Really try to activate your legs. So push through the tops of the feet as though your kneecaps are lifting off the mat. Tabletop, you could also come to the forearms rather than be on the belly. Could we take some shoulder movements from wherever you are, and you can make an adjustment. If you're still on the belly, take your hands wide, tent the fingertips. Know that you can wiggle around through your shoulders here by staying low to the ground. Sometimes we do a cobra lift in between, pressing, lifting up through the heart, but you can stay pretty low here, or you can do this from tabletop. Take a few more rounds of movement. Again, just feeling, noticing, and breathing. We've talked recently. The one thing that is not optional while you're here with me on the mat is breathing. Deal? Otherwise, you have a lot of choice. When you're ready, let's meet back in tabletop pose. So encouraging you to tuck the elbows in if you're coming off the ground, to lift up of your low ribs. And let's find puppy pose. So curling toes under, your hands go forward. They can go wider than the shoulders, and we'll stretch the spine. Let that be the focus, finding length between your tailbone and the back of your neck. Sometimes I do a little cow and cat here just to find that really sweet spot, because there's just a little bit of change in the arc of the back that might feel lovely to you. A breath in that expands the backs of your ribs, and a breath out that softens your jaw. When you're ready, we're going to come back to tabletop pose. We're going to work some hip and core strength from the forearms. So if that works for you, I'm going to lower forearms down, elbows under shoulders. You can do this from tabletop, so this is just a change of perspective. I'm going to just kind of adjust my legs a little bit here. Can we put more weight into your left leg so you can lift up a bent right leg and let the hip open up? Again, you can be on hands here. This is just kind of meant to be a break for the wrists, a different perspective. Can you feel gravity trying to tug that right foot over? Feel and breathe for space. Let's level the right hip, keep the right leg extended long. The option here is we're going to do knee crunches under the body, but I'm going to try to press up to my hands as my knee comes under my body. I'm going to kick the leg long and go back to the forearms. So I'm going to lift up both forearms at the same time, shift the weight forward and lower down. If that's just like, not feeling right to your body, you can stay in tabletop pose and draw that knee in and out. So it's kind of a sneaky work of the tricep, shift your weight forward, and then whenever you feel ready, the next time the right knee comes in, you're on hands, set the knee down, tabletop pose. Did you get a little spice? And then we'll curl the toes under. Let's walk your hands back until you're putting some pressure of almost trying to sit on your heels. And some of you might find you can make that progression to do just that, where your hands come off of the ground. Keep whatever amount of weight into your hands makes that stretch feel supportive. So I like to say with this one in particular, I don't encourage you to stay in anything that's painful, but like mild discomfort, that's kind of that sweet spot for you to discover for yourself. And then when you're ready, let's take a breath up to the knees. Take a big breath up, stretch up. Exhale, hands come down. I'm going to uncurl my toes actually and give them just a gentle tap. I'm going to face you. I'm going to take a breath up, reach. Exhale, twist to the right with the left arm forward, right arm back. Inhale to come back to center, reach up. Exhale the other direction. Just taking a little twisting movement. We haven't done a lot to rotate the spine yet. So we're just, again, kind of working through spine goodness. Try to keep your ribs drawing in so your spine stays straight. And the twist is happening from your torso, not because of the arms. When you're ready, your next breath where you reach up, let's take a thoughtful hinge back to tabletop pose. Go ahead and land. Give yourself some time to wiggle, to reset, and we'll find the other side of the hip opener with the option again of going to the forearms. And again, it's just an option to change perspective, give the wrists a break, readjust the width of your knees to feel stable, and then more weight in your right knee to lift up a bent left leg. I hope you're kind of looking between your forearms. There is a little bit of a downward slant here of the head because your head is lower than the hips. So just noticing that it's a little blood rush to the head. Maybe roll around through the left ankle, feel some breath. And then our option, level the hips, kick the left leg long. I'm going to do knee crunches, left arm or left knee coming under, but I'm going to see if I can lift up off of the forearms as my knee comes in and then lower back down as my leg extends. And as you do come up, try to shift your weight forward just a little bit, almost kind of drawing your shoulders over your wrists. And again, you can do this just from tabletop. Good, fine breath. Did I warn you we had a little yoga lattes happening today? And then when you're ready, the next time the knee comes in, tabletop pose, curl your toes under. We're going to take a second pass at what's called toe squat or broken toe. This time though, I'm going to actually encourage you to keep your hands down, maybe just slightly wider than your knees for one more layer to experiment with here. I'm going to actually try to shift my weight back, lift my knees up and press my heels closer to the floor and then come back. And just again, see how that feels. This is a lot of knee flexion, huge range of motion in the knee, maybe a little added stretch in the calves, the Achilles, the ankles. So again, give yourself space. You do not have to be opting into this, but when you're ready, can we land the knees, reach up, lift up to the knees, exhale, hands to heart, toes uncurl, take a breath. I'm going to bring my hands into my back pockets, fingertips pointing down. Feel a draw back of your elbows. You might create a slight sensation of a back bend, meaning you might kind of press your hips forward and lift your sternum toward the ceiling. I encourage you to kind of tuck your chin in a little bit. Maybe you want to let your head drop back. That's completely up to you and how that feels to your throat and your neck. Take a full breath in, full breath out. Push your hips back into your hands to straighten your spine. We rinse it out. Take a big breath up. Thoughtful hinge will land you in tabletop pose. Take whatever movements you could use here. Do you want to head back to the belly? Do you want to work a really big upright cobra? You can certainly let your hips soften from your knee plank. Could you use any more shoulder movements? Maybe you're ready to settle in. The suggestion eventually is going to be a child's pose. I'm going to offer a little variation in the upper body. So if and when it feels okay, child's pose for the legs. The knees typically go a little wider, I think, for most of us, tops of feet down. The wider knees asks a bit of the hips, but also gives us space to really kind of soften the belly toward the ground. So you maybe have done kind of a side reach with this child's pose before. I'm going to offer a slight difference. So with your forearms down, perhaps, can you bring your left hand closer to your right hand? So you're starting to introduce a side body stretch in that left side. See if you can send your left hip back. If it feels okay, maybe your right arm actually goes along your side so your fingertips are toward your feet, and you might drop your left ear toward the mat to look to the right. That brings in just a little bit more gravity. You kind of lose support of that one other arm with the right arm going back. So just notice how that feels. Take some breath to send it somewhere purposeful, and then we'll carefully rewind. Right hand comes back forward. Unwind. I'm going to actually take another moment to sit up. It's a slight variation because now the knees are wider and the tops of the feet are down. So a different stretch potentially for feet and knees, but I'm just coming off the ground for a moment. And then we'll see how that feels on the other side. So I'm going to settle back towards child's pose, make little adjustments. And then if you'd like to take that side reach, right arm toward left hand, and you can stay right here. If you want to explore that other little shift where your left arm goes down by your side, kind of fingertips toward your feet, maybe your right ear drops toward the floor and you look to the left. Again, I find that there's a little bit more kind of pull by gravity because that left arm is no longer there to help. So just notice how it's feeling. There's a lot happening in the body here, even though there's perceived kind of restfulness. Take a big breath into right side body and a breath out. We unwind left arm if you moved it. We'll pull back to tabletop pose. We're going to take one sun salutation actually going to the back of the mat. So when you're ready, curling toes under, See if you can lift up the hips. Try on a downward facing dog. And I literally mean that. Try it on. Like you're trying on a pair of jeans, deciding if you want to wear them today. If this does not feel good in your body for whatever reason, keep the knees down and return to your puppy pose, because the purpose of those shapes is exactly the same. Lengthen your spine. If your knees are still down, I will invite you to float them briefly. Let's walk our hands back toward our feet. I'm actually going to widen my feet a little bit, and I'm going to head straight to ragdoll. Since we're kind of walking back, I'm going to let gravity tug at the top of my head and maybe sway. You can press your hands into your shins or thighs if you prefer a lift of your chin and your heart. Right? We are upside down here in that ragdoll. Decide what works for you. And then we stand when you're ready, rolling up slow head last or reverse swan dive. Push through your feet. Energize, rise, extend, reach. Once you are at the top of the mat, take a moment to literally just be there and pause. And then I'm going to invite you to take a breath up, reach up, cactus your arms, and find another opening opportunity here. Sometimes, again, I purposely draw my low ribs in so my spine is straight. Sometimes I like a little back bend. What makes sense for your spine, for your breath, and check that you can take that full breath in, full breath out. Straighten your spine, bring your hands back to heart. We're going to go right back down. Take a big breath up. Thoughtful hinge. Maybe you pass through a ragdoll. Maybe you keep your chin and heart lifted. Start to land your hands and walk them back out. Perhaps you come to a high plank for just a moment where your knees are off of the ground, shoulders over wrists, a squeeze of your body. Hips aren't dropping, hips aren't lifting. And then lower knees if they're not, uncurl toes, take on whatever finishes your flow. Do you want to go through a cobra variation? Do you want to press back toward tabletop? Finish off this flow, this moment of this practice. Notice if you start to create a task list when you have this opportunity to flow. Or if you're being able to stay responsive to that, again, that trust that your body is giving you feedback, we're listening in. Maybe you land in a child's pose. Maybe you eventually pause in a puppy pose. We're going to start to shift one more time to upright, but we're going to go more of our classic front of mat transition. So when you're ready, we're in tabletop pose. I'm going to set one of my blocks actually out in front. I prefer to have a little touch point when I go kind of back to front. And then again, maybe another pass at a downward facing dog. Maybe this time you do something differently. Maybe you shake your head around yes or no, or you pedal the legs. Just really keep that spine long. Walking whenever you feel ready. Bend the knees to give you a head start. You might feel a little stretch of the legs this time as you go forward. And again, now top of mat, feet underneath the hips. Do you want to be more lifted again in heart and spine? Do you want to take another pass at ragdoll? Sometimes I like to keep my heart and chin lifted and pedal the legs. We call those elephant walks. Stand when you're ready. Roll up slow head last or reverse swan dive. You choose. Make your way upright and tall. No rush. Taking some time again to be vertical, to feel your feet beneath you on the ground. Oh, so profound to just be here and you can notice your body. And then when you're ready, if you happen to have a single block or a dumbbell, I'm going to move mine halfway down the right side of my mat. So as we talked about, we're obviously standing. We're not going to do a lot upright today. We're going to end up back on the ground here shortly, but from the top of your mat, feet hip distance, I'm going to bring my right hand to the base of my ribs in front of my body, and I'm going to bring the top of my left hand to the back of my ribs, and I'm going to sit down and up in chair pose and just create a flow and a pace that feels right with the goal to not change my back. So sometimes when we sit in chair, we might round or we might overly arch our back. Can you sit to whatever depth you want, but not change your spine? Good. The next time that you are standing, can we bring hands to heart and lift the right knee? I'm going to face you. With balance, you can always move towards something to use for support. Can we turn the right hip open? Remember that butterfly we did on the ground? Can you kind of feel that half butterfly shape? Maybe your right ankle hooks onto your left thigh. You can stay tall here. I love how that feels sometimes in my hips to energize my right knee back and down. Maybe you combine with that slight sit in chair. We're working into a standing figure 4. If you do sit into the legs, remember how we just practiced the position of your spine, that we're not arching or caving in. Hands at heart, maybe looking somewhere in front of you. I'm going to go back to facing how you are. Let's stand up, unhook, send right leg way back, tuck it behind your left foot, turn your body to face the right side of your mat, setting for warrior two. So your left foot is forward, your right arch is tucked behind your left heel. You have a pretty big stance. Let's go dynamic. I'm gonna reach up, legs straight. I'm gonna sweep the arms down and sit into warrior two. So I'm gonna go up and down. I heard an interesting phrase recently about this. What would it feel like to make a meal out of this? Oh, did you just feel that? Like moving slow enough of just like up and down. And when you're ready, we're gonna hang out in the down, warrior two legs, right hand to hip or small of back. Left arm reaches up, peaceful warrior. Can you feel your left rib cage expand as you energize your left knee toward your left pinky toe? So that left hip is trying to open while you're rooted through the feet. Can you keep everything the same, but lengthen your left leg? Now we're in reverse triangle. Oh yeah, can you feel that side bend? Maybe got just a little bit more spacious. Full breath in, full breath out. Bring your body upright and tall. Turn all 10 toes completely to the right side. I'm gonna bring my feet a little closer and I'm literally just gonna wiggle the hips around for a moment because they were pretty stable there in that stance for a while. We're gonna head to a wide fold, letting yourself soften through the knees. I like to do a swan dive where I bend the knees and kind of lead with my heart still lifted until hands are down. Block or dumbbell or floor, and then lengthening through the legs as you might lengthen your spine and lift. You might go more of a ragdoll approach. This is such a lovely shape for a multitude of reasons. It's a great place to just hopefully release some cortisol and de-stress. So making that space for your body to do so. You might widen your feet. You might grab for opposite elbows. Maybe gravity is just so delicious today and you want to use that added space. We're going to start to lower to the ground from here. Can we meet with hands under chest, lift heart, lift chin? Could we actually bend and extend the legs a couple of times? It's just kind of a quick bonus for the knees and the hips. With the knees slightly bent, we're gonna stay facing this side. Can you bring your left knee down to the ground right under your body and extend your right leg further to the back of your mat? So we're in this half frog position. And then take some time to move the hips front to back. I'm gonna turn profile to you so you can see, you might have the left foot down. You might curl the left toes under. We've done a lot, again, for kind of knee flexion and ankle work. As you send the hips back and front, notice if you're caving into your back. Really keep your heart and chest lifted. Let's meet shoulders over wrists. And we're gonna keep the left hand down, open and twist, right arm up. Exhale, sweep right arm under left. This is one of my favorite dynamic moves because it's just yoga multitasking at its finest. Your hips might be moving, your spine, your shoulders, no force, feel. Literally flow with your breath. Do you want to meet me holding open? Feel free. I'm going to stay a few breaths with my right arm up. See if you can come onto the left fingertips. So just this brief moment where you notice if you're kind of dumping into the left arm. And then use an exhale to bring your right hand back down. I'm going to slowly start to walk my hands toward the front of my mat as my legs spin as well. So we're going to meet in tabletop pose with your right leg still extended long. So your left knee has to pivot and turn. And then a couple of variations to kind of undo some of the hip work. I'm going to lift up that right leg, cross it on the left side of my mat, toes down. Maybe stay here for a few breaths. You can kind of shift your hips a little side to side. Sometimes I like to soften my right hip toward the floor. You might even bring your left shoulder closer to your left hip. Option to level out your shoulders, keep the legs crossed, but also bend the right knee. So we're taking eagle legs on the ground. I'll face away from you. So they're literally crossed as the width of your feet is entirely up to you. And then can you perhaps shift your weight back and front? When I shift my hips back, quite often my left knee lifts off the ground, so you don't have to keep your knees connected to the floor. Sometimes when I shift my weight back, I like to scooch a little even side to side. Oh, this is one of those moves where I hope you start making that weird yoga face that's just, oh yeah. Did you feel that part? That sweet spot up in there. And then when you're ready, thanks, Courtney. I knew I could trust you to give me that yoga face. Let's shift weight, shoulders over wrists, unwind, tabletop pose. What could you use to finish off that entire one-sided sequence? Perhaps your body says, yep, straight to child's pose. Maybe your body is realizing you want to sit up again. We've taken moments, right, to just completely come up and off of the body. Maybe you're loving a cobra opportunity here. Again, there's so much freedom in this opportunity to flow, we call it. Sometimes that can almost be a little debilitating, that we start to question or wonder or overanalyze. Allow yourself the space to feel and breathe. Whenever you are ready, there is absolutely no rush. We're going to start that journey back to standing one more time. So I'm going to head to tabletop. I'm going to set my block out in front. I do like having that there as a touch point. Option again for a downward facing dog along the way. However you want to get there, whenever you want to get there, we're going to meet standing at the top of the mat. Enjoy your time in downward facing dog if it's really feeling restorative. Find your walk when you're ready. I'll keep giving suggestions, but you don't need to pace with anything I'm saying. Top of your mat, spend as much time. Strong spine, maybe ragdoll. Root to rise, we say when you stand. I encourage you to really press through your feet. Maybe if you're there sooner than later, you take an extra freedom breath just to reach up and an exhale, hands to heart. No rush, but as you're ready and upright, setting maybe one block or dumbbell down the left side of your mat. So again, we're going to end up going high to low when we're facing the left side. Similar, but I did remember all the lefts and rights. Maybe this time, top of mat, your left hand comes to the front of your ribs. The top of your right hand goes to the backs of your ribs, and we sit again in chair. I think so often we think about chair pose, it mimics a squat, right? So we just kind of assume it's all strength of the legs. For me, I really find this to be more about strengthening the back. That yes, if you sit low enough, clearly the quadriceps are firing, rooting through your feet. But then when you're ready, we're going to stand up tall, unwind arms, lift left knee, give that a pause. I'm going to face you. There's something about coming out of dynamic movement and then kind of trying to pause in stillness. Can you turn the hip open to that half butterfly type shape? Maybe you hook left ankle on right leg. And again, I'm going to stay tall. I love how that feels in the hips sometimes. Maybe you sit. The shape isn't better if you sit. I find my hip feels something differently if I'm standing tall. And again, feel free to hold something. Being one-legged doesn't have to be the main focus of this, since we are finding a shape for the hips. And then when you're ready, if you're kind of sitting a bit, we rise up, we unhook to send the left leg back and land kind of tucked behind the right. You're going to turn your body to the left. I'm going to face you. So it really feels like your torso is trying to turn to the left, but your right hip is going to try to stay open. And again, dynamic warrior 2, lift up, reach up, and sit. And I hope that's what it feels like you're trying to just sit down on the floor. Your right knee happens to be bending. What we want to avoid is the lean out. And it's really easy to do because the right leg bends. So that means the right leg is like, give me more weight. We're going to try to fight that. Did you make a meal out of this one? And then when you're ready, in the down, left hand to your hip or the small of your back, right arm up, peaceful warrior. What would it feel like to be just that? Soft and strong, feet strong, jaw soft, upper body feeling some space. Can we keep everything the same, but lengthen your right leg? We shift to reverse triangle. You might feel a little bit more able to lean into that side bend just with a different position of the legs. Breathe. And then body upright and tall. Turn all 10 toes. Complete that turn to the left. And then once again, maybe just a little wiggle of the hips. Check in. That was a lot of hip stability. Give them a little flow. And then we'll hinge to our wide fold second pass. Bend the knees. Let your hands start to land. Again, you might be more lifted in your spine. You might go more ragdoll. Maybe you grab for the ankles this time. There's just so many ways that you can explore here. I hope it doesn't become a place where you're trying to overanalyze your choice, but to really just breathe and choose. Take a few more rounds of breath in your variation, your place where I hope something in your body just said, thanks for that. And then hands press underneath your chest. Lift chest, lift heart, lift chin, soften into knees. Your right knee is going to come down directly under your body as your left leg goes further to the back of your mat for your kind of half frog. Again, I'm going to go profile on purpose. where you might take some time to send your hips back and front. The reason I have a block here is to make sure as I shift, I don't start rounding my back. I know I did that very dramatic, but you can curl the right toes under or keep the right foot down. And then the next time that your weight is shifted over your wrist, so shoulders over wrists, let's take left arm open and twist to the left. Exhale, sweep left arm under right. Dynamic movement. This is helping with circulation in our body. This again becomes a place to just release stress through flow with breath. If you want to join me, I'm going to hold for a few breaths open. Maybe you come onto your right fingertips just as a way to check that you're actually using your legs and your core. We warmed up your core for a reason, that it becomes your help here to hold yourself open without dumping into right arm. Exhale, left hand comes back down. I'm going to start to slowly walk my hands back toward the front of my mat as my legs turn with me. So we hopefully meet in what is tabletop with the left leg extended long. So your right knee is under your body, facing forward. And then we can lift up the left leg and cross it over to touch off the right side of your mat. So again, a little lateral movement in the body, almost a counter shape for the hips. You might let your left hip soften toward the floor. You might bring your right shoulder closer to your right hip. Maybe you unwind the upper body, you stay crossed, but you also bend the left knee. And then I usually have to kind of move that around. So you're almost trying to be cross-legged tabletop pose, and feel free to shift around here. I find just that curiosity of shifting front to back or even side to side. You just might find little sticky spots in the hips. Both hips are in this inward direction, which is why sometimes there's those little tight spots. We don't always spend a lot of time this way. And when you're ready, shoulders over wrists, we'll unwind the legs and take your final flow. That might again mean you're ready for a child's pose. It might mean you want to take on still a cobra, a puppy pose, maybe another final downward facing dog, anything that you can use here that helps you create space, that helps you kind of rinse out physically all that we explored, and gives you a chance again to let your body breathe, your brain to breathe. Remembering you can always sit up, right? That moment to pause and land is truly whatever works for you in your time whenever you feel ready. We will meet sitting, facing a long edge of your mat. Does not matter how you get there, when you get there. So if you recall, one suggestion was a blanket or towel rolled up. We're going to lay on our side for a few moments. You could use this almost like a pillow if you did have that option. I'm going to keep mine still off to the side, but know that that is okay to bring in. And can we lay on our left side when you're ready? So if that kind of changes how you want to orient yourself, I'm going to literally lay down on my left side, either resting your head on your left hand, kind of with the elbow propped, or maybe you lay all the way down. Give yourself a few moments to kind of feel how that feels laying on your left hip. And then can we gently start to hug the right knee toward the chest with your right hand? Doesn't matter where you're grabbing the leg. And then you might shift this into more of a quadricep stretch. So I'm going to slide my hand toward my ankle or my foot and see if I can bring the foot behind me. And I'm actually going to kick into my foot to kind of take it farther away from my back body and press my right hip to the side of the mat. So sometimes in a quadricep stretch, I'm just going to show you when we're standing with this, there's this focus on bringing like your heel all the way to your backside. I'm hoping when you're laying down, you're actually creating some space so you can squeeze your right glute muscle and press your hip forward. And then when you're ready, one more hip extravaganza. Can you bring your right hand down to the ground in front of your chest? Can you cross your right leg over, maybe briefly touch it on the ground? Bring it back up so thighs are stacked, and I'm going to open the hip and close the hip. So it looks like a clamshell and a knock-knee kind of position. And then I'm going to go again. Right knee toward the floor in front of my body. Oh, and then bring it back to do a little clamshell and a little, right, just rotating hip in and out. The next time your right knee goes over and across, can you let it land? You might roll more onto your left hip. So just hopefully getting to a place where that feels like, the leg just landed. If your head is still propped, maybe you lay it down on your bicep. And then perhaps I'm going to take my right arm and just kind of open it up behind me and rotate my upper body toward the ceiling just a little bit. This again is not creating a pose per se, more about sensation. Just a rotation in your spine, maybe a little extra stretch in your right shoulder, the right side of your chest, letting your neck feel soft wherever you ended up turning the head. And then I'm going to roll back to land my right hand. Now, eventually we're going to be laying on our right side. Do you want to take some time and roll onto your back and give yourself a rinse? You could do that. Do you want to push up off the ground and come back to be upright and sit as a way to transition? So trying to give you that opportunity to just do what makes sense, even if that means you need to orient yourself differently. We eventually meet to lay on your right side. There is no rush. Taking your time again to feel that settling in where you're laying on your right side. My right bottom leg has a slight bend to it. You again might have your head propped up or kind of laying on your right bicep. Let's gently hug the left knee toward your chest. And then again, as we switch to being more quadricep focused, you might have your hand more to your ankle or your foot. And as you sweep the leg behind you, kick into your hand right away. So I'm not trying to bring my left heel super close to the back of my body. I'm actually creating that little bit of a kick so I can squeeze my left glute muscle and press my left hip flexor to the side. Notice if your knee is really high up, see if it can be straight out from your hip. I hope that makes sense. Take a few more breaths, creating some space in that front of the leg, which works all the time for us. And then again, try not to boomerang, letting go of the left foot, left hand in front of you. I'm going to take that bent left knee and try to cross it over in front of me. I'm going to bring it back so it's kind of stacked over my right leg, and then I'm going to turn the hip in and out a couple of times. So it looks sort of clamshell-ish and kind of knee down, foot up. Whenever you'd like, take the knee over in front. And just finding these movements again, so much work of the hips because our hips are a socket joint. They're designed to go all sorts of directions. We're giving it all of that right now. And eventually the left knee crosses over and hopefully lands. Make any adjustments here because honestly, I kind of hope this feels like nothing. That you're landing and the body really can just give in without any strain or stress. If your head is propped up, maybe see if you can lower it down. And I'm going to take my left arm and just kind of drape it open behind me. My shoulders are rotating a little bit. My heart is rotating, my head, but there isn't a destination or a shape we're trying to create. This is all about feeling just some opening and sensation here. Whenever you feel ready, we'll slowly unwind. Left hand might come back down. And again, maybe you roll onto your back. That's where we will eventually meet, is laying on our back. No rush to get there. If you're kind of oriented differently than you typically would be, take the time to come to your back in a way that makes sense, in the direction that feels right. And maybe you have that blanket or towel. Take a few moments to reconnect with the ground. It might be a little bit of a sway of the legs. We're going to work from a supported bridge with a couple of variations. If you do not have anything to put under the small of your back, you will still be able to explore the added pieces that we do with the lower body. It just is a different way to explore if you happen to have height. So maybe it's a little pillow, maybe a yoga block. I'm going to take my blanket. I'm going to pretend I'm going to come into bridge pose. So feet planted, knees bent. I'm going to lift up my hips so I can scoot my blanket underneath. So it kind of lands right at the small of the back. I'm just going to let myself land over the top of it. So whatever you have here, if anything, if you don't, we'll wait without anything under your back. I hope it feels like you can just kind of soften over it, and clearly if anything feels painful at the small of your back, make an adjustment to where it is or maybe take it away. Option to take your right leg out straight. So if you're laying back flat, you'll extend the right leg long. Now, when you do this with supported bridge, you might notice there's a little kind of extra space to create in the right hip flexor. Maybe it would feel okay to bring your left knee toward your chest. I'm not pulling it really hard. I'm just basically getting my left foot off the ground. So there's a different sense of weight into that support potentially. Perhaps With your left leg, you create what feels like half happy baby. So my left knee is going to lengthen a little bit. I'm going to use both hands to kind of turn my hip open and draw my left knee a little wider and toward the floor. And again, you can do this even if you do have something under your back. You might realize, I'd rather do this without. You can certainly opt to take away whatever is at the small of the back. When you're ready, let's slowly bring the left hip in. Set the left foot down. Bring your right foot back to bend. If you'd like to take a quick lift into an active bridge, I'm just going to give a big squeeze up and a lift and lower right back down. Clearly, we're going to do the other side. Give yourself a moment to land, and then maybe eventually your left leg goes straight. So there's something about that little bit of height where you might feel just a little bit more space that opens across your left hip flexor. And you can stay here. Any of the little added pieces, that's all they are. It doesn't make this any better. I hope the best place is what you want to do. Maybe your right knee comes off toward your chest. So really just getting the right foot off the floor is the idea, to bring some added weight across the back. Maybe that right leg kind of converts to what would be sort of half happy baby. So my knee actually extends a bit, and I'm guiding my right hip to open as though my knee is turning to the right side of the room. Try not to pull or force. Let your hands be just a support for a shape that your leg creates authentically. Slow rewind. Knee comes back over the chest if the leg lifted. Right foot eventually comes back down. Left foot comes back next to right. Option here, with or without anything under your back, maybe you take your legs up for a few breaths. So if you do have something under the small of your back, this legs up the wall variation almost creeps into more of a shoulder stand because you might feel more weight across your upper back. You can do this with a kickstand of your hands underneath the small of your back. Maybe you take a brief moment to close your eyes. Just letting the blood drain from your legs into your heart and your brain. It's so wonderful for our physical bodies, for our emotional well-being. When you are ready, letting your knees gently bend. And I'm going to slowly bring my feet back down first, and then I'm going to do that little gentle press like a bridge pose to take away what's been under the back. When you re-articulate your spine down, take your time. We had the back elevated potentially for a really long time. So as you come back to let your spine land, just kind of feel that. And then noticing if there's anything else that you could use here. A little sway of the legs, maybe a full body stretch, starting to prepare where your body feels most available for rest today. We start to make our way towards Shavasana, which means, right, a pose of rest, of restoration. It does not matter where you are positioned. My hope is that wherever you choose to land, to find your moment in Shavasana, that your body feels supported, held by the ground, and that you're not noticing very much feedback. That your body has a level of comfort where you're able to feel some sense of surrender. And the hope is as your body feels that support and that softening, that our brain takes that guidance, that invitation. Shavasana does not mean emptiness. It means no boundaries. Let yourself be. Let your brain go. Your breath, your space. I'm going to go off camera just ever so briefly, and I will bring you back after a few more quiet moments. invitation is there to bring a bit more awareness, alertness into your mind's eye, encouraging you to maybe try not to do anything other than notice. Sometimes that urgency kicks in that we're so used to go right away to the very next thing. You have the time. I purposely carve out the time in this practice so you have the space to thoughtfully do what makes sense next. Please feel free to stay where you are. If you're finding movement, that desire to kind of bring things back physically, I invite you to keep your eyes closed if that works for you. So you're really tuned in. How do you want to close practice today? Stay where you are, linger and rest beyond the Zoom if that makes sense. No, I'm here seated, eyes closed. You're more than welcome to join me upright, just creating that transition, any movement in a way that works for you. Wherever you are, see if you can find length of your spine. It might not even mean anything physically changes. A little softening of your jaw. Maybe you separate the teeth in your mouth. Maybe one hand over your heart, one hand over your belly. As you feel that touch, feel your breath moving wherever it's moving. Feel your heart beating, thanking the version of you that made the time to be here on your mat today. I'm so humbly grateful to facilitate practice for all of you, and I truly wish you so much peace and ease in your body and your brain. I acknowledge there is love and light in me that sees, honors, and bows to the love and light in each and every one of you. Namaste. Thank you all so very much.